Welcome back. Upon Nigeria's return to democracy in May 1999, the country has witnessed about 4 states of emergency rule at the state level. The latest one being President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, which has ignited widespread debate among legal experts, human rights advocates, and political observers across Nigeria. Recall that Governor Similaye Fubara has been in a political tussle with Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, as well as state lawmakers over alleged misconduct. The president noted that this crisis undermines the exercise of democratic governance in the state. While announcing the emergency rule, he suspended Governor Fubara, his deputy, and all elected members of the House of Assembly of Rivers State for 6 months, and appointed Vice Admiral Iboete Ibas, retired, as administrator to take charge of the affairs of the state. Well, joining us in the studio for this conversation is a lawyer and Ogun State NNPP chairman, Barrister Femi Aina. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. It is a little bit tricky what we're about to discuss right now, because hearing from so many people, especially lawyers, Mr. President is right for being decisive, but he shouldn't have suspended an elected governor and the whole House of Assembly. What's your take?
Well, that's one side of the argument. And this is the right decision. And one must it's timely, it's decisive, and it's necessary. And one must commend the president for taking the bull by the horn. Because at the end of the day, the question we need to ask ourselves, must the president wait up until the tipping point whereby there is total anarchy in that state before taking a decision? And most of the people, I've heard the argument for and against. But the question you need to ask yourself is this. If you are not happy with the Constitution, if you have issue with the Constitution, you don't take it with the president, you take it with the members of parliament. Then you go to the parliament and tell them that, look, this aspect of the Constitution, there's likelihood there's going to be an abuse. Can we amend it? During the Saraki era, if my memory serves me right, there was an amendment to the Constitution. There were a lot of consultation. Most of these people who are criticizing the president for taking this decision, where were they then? Why did they approach that committee and say, look, this section of the Constitution, let's try and amend it? And also, they are saying, I know, and I could see where they are coming from, that there is no provision in the Constitution for the president expressly to suspend the governor or the House of Assembly. I do agree with that line of argument, but that is one side of the argument. The other side of the argument is to look at the provisions of the Constitution, because it could be implied. Because if you look at that section 305, which is used by the president, it clearly states that where there is a total breakdown of public order, public safety in the federation, or any part thereof, to such extent as to require extraordinary measures to restore peace and security. You now need to ask yourself that fundamental question, that will the president just go out and say, look, I'm declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State. The dramatic personnel causing the crisis, we will still leave them in place. Then that means your decision is not effective. So that extraordinary measures require the president to ask these people that, look, either one, it can ask them to be arrested, even to start with, as part of that extraordinary measure. But the president has decided not to do that. What he now did is said, look, we are not removing you, but step aside for now, so that there will be peace and order in that state. And this is a right decision, and I support it. And people need to be very careful. We are in a democracy. You cannot expect the president to be playing a dog whistle politics, whereby because we don't want the opposition to criticize us, we need to try as much as possible. Anyway. Exactly. And he has taken this decision. We must respect that decision. And the people who are criticizing the president, there is an alternative. And even, let's bring it home. You have a business to run. You have 2 employees working with you. They are supposed to work together for your business to be successful. Then you call them to a meeting and say, look, resolve your differences. I want peace to reign. I want all of you to work together as a team. And despite that, they are still bickering. Every day you come to the office, what you are doing is to be resolving crisis. At a point, you will need to sit down and tell them that, look, I have a business to run. If the two of you cannot work together, I will take a decision. Yes. And also, when you invite people for an interview, is it not the question you ask them that, what is your attitude to teamwork? And they will tell you, I'm ready to learn new skills. I can get up. Do you get me? So do you want the president, you see, for government to function, all the three arms of government must work in harmony with each other. If you have a situation, I know there is a little bit of policy whereby sometimes the judiciary can take a decision. Parliament will make a law in order to override that decision. That is normal. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you have a situation where the executive cannot work with the legislator, then we have a problem in this country. And the president made that clear in his speech.
Looking at it against the backdrop of Section 305 that you quoted, well, the provision says that the only way you can remove a governor from office is either he resigns, removal by legislature, death, loss of re-election, a fraction of time, that is when it completes its term of office, and permanent incapacitation. In all of this, we didn't see any of that. So is it now within the confines of the Constitution? Fine, we understand that there is a letter on the spirit of the Constitution. Probably the president had invoked the spirit, and then because the 305 kind of left it open, you know, for you to take extraordinary measures. But if you're taking extraordinary measures, is it in line for you to is it within the confines of it to ask an elected, duly elected, you know, leader of a state, governor of a state in this case, and you ask the person to step aside?
Yes, I take your point, but I invite you to take my point. If the elected representative cannot work to ensure the people in that state enjoy the dividends of democracy, somebody will need to take a decision for them. Because at the end of the day, I do understand with that argument that they are elected representative of the people. Yes. But that being elected representative of the people require you to work in the interest of the people. And if you are not working in the interest of those people, 14 months down the line, these people cannot work together. The governor cannot even face the issue. And there are a lot of myriad of issues we have in this country. This is becoming an unnecessary distraction. And time flies when you are having fun. You are bickering. You are fighting each other. Now, you have a situation whereby this governor, if you look at the last few months, it is this crisis. He has been overwhelmed. We have not even heard the governor commissioning this project, doing this. Maybe he's doing it underground. But this crisis is overshadowing his achievement. And somebody has now stepped in. You see, the power of the president covers the whole nation.
Regardless of the sovereignty of each sub-national.
The sovereignty is there, and that is respected. And another thing, people are using the word remove. He has not even removed them. He has only taken a decision that, look, for peace to reign. You see, the president has an enormous responsibility under the Constitution. The president, even by Section 5 of the Constitution, has a duty to maintain the Constitution and the spirit of that Constitution. And in doing that, he needs to take a harsh decision. And it's not every decision taken by the president everybody will agree with. But that is why he's the leader of the executive. That is why he has that executive power. And that executive power covers the whole federation. And we need to leave opposition politics aside and face the real issue. Do you want this to continue? Can you imagine what is going to happen? They've started the impeachment, efforts to impeach that Governor Fubara and the deputy. Now, if that should scale through, I bet you what is going to happen. There's going to be total anarchy in that state. And the president said, look, I must do something.
That leads me to the next question, because arguments making the round says that there was no breakdown of law and order, so to say, apart from the explosions in River State to warrant such a decision by Mr. President, that the Constitution says there has to be breakdown of law and order before the emergency rule can be invoked. Is it not premature that Mr. President took this decision though quite a number of people believe that he did it out of wisdom and necessity.
Yes, and the necessity deserved that, and I support that wholeheartedly. Because the question is, when you say there must be total breakdown of law and order, so does that mean we must not emphasize things? If you manage an organization, you must be able to foresee risk, and you must avert it. And the only way you can do that is to take a decision. And now, do you want to wait until there is death? Do you want to wait until somebody is injured before you take a decision? That is the question. And the question these people are saying is that, do you have to wait for the tipping point? We could see this is going to happen. Fubara has his own supporter. The House of Assembly have their own supporters. Look at what happened during their last local government election also. Now, that is even a sign that there's going to be something. The Niger Delta pipeline, which was with the explosion there, that is the pipeline that is very important.
Exactly.
And now it happened, that was on Tuesday or so, and the day after, there was another one. So we have to wait until they bump the whole pipeline in Rivers State before the president can intervene. Yes. You see, this is the point. And I agree with the president that this is the right decision in the circumstances. And look, the river people and their leaders, they have an option at this present moment, whether they want to eat their ships with honey or vinegar. Number one, this is a temporary decision by the president. Yeah. Today, there will be decision one way or the other by the National Assembly. What they need to do is to sit down and say, let common sense prevail. Let us resolve our problem. Then they can come up with, get the lawyers in to draft what is called a compromise agreement. Take that compromise agreement to the president that we do understand where you are coming from. You have taken this decision, we respect that decision. But there is no need again because we have an agreement. This is a copy and we have resolved our differences. We are happy to work together. We are happy to ensure there is law and order in the state. All this unnecessary bickering is going to stop. Now, the president in his wisdom can now look at that and say, now, I'm happy with this. I've seen the agreement. I hope everybody will abide by the spirit. I will now revoke the proclamation. That is one. If you don't get it there, you can go to the National Assembly. And present the case and say, look, this. And Governor Fubara must learn one lesson. He needs to make himself to be a comeback kid. This is a good opportunity for him. Because if you have power, you need to be humble. You understand? Because you can have this animal, but if you want to go on a tit for tat, or you are gaslighting issues, the issues may not go away. And, right. And you could see the president mentioned it. What is the essence of the destruction of the House of Assembly for? Why did you have to do that? Because you don't want parliament to sit, and you need parliament in order to function as an executive. As a democracy. So you see, in a democracy, you can't do that. But, and also judges, before I come, judges too need, the decision of the Supreme Court. They were very critical of the governor, which is understandable. But judges too must avoid using colorful adjectives. And if you listen to the Attorney General yesterday, when he was about to say despot, the way he raised his voice, emphasized that point. Right. Do you understand me? If you study body language, you will know. You just want that message to get across to the Nigerian people. So judges, I'm not saying judges must not be critical, but we have to avoid all these colorful words because it doesn't help.
Right. So there's a whole lot we can ask question about as regards whether the decision was right or wrong. You're helping us to make sense of it. But if you look at the tasks at hand now, especially for retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibaz, being appointed as a caretaker administrator who's now sworn in by the president yesterday. I mean, he's taking an oath yesterday. How do you think the Vice Admiral, with the military background, contribute to restoring peace, ensuring security, not just in Rivers State, but which would definitely impact our national economy?
He has his work cut out for him to start with. Number one, there are a lot of issues on ground. And number two, he must try as much as possible to listen more rather than taking a decision. Because there are a lot of aggrieved people in that state. And if his care is not taken, that's what. You see, this is where the crisis management skill comes in. And why, the question you need to ask yourself, why did you let it get to this stage? Because somebody is not ready to step down, somebody is not ready to listen, somebody is trying to use power. What the new administrator should do, it will need to consult more, it will need to listen more, it will need to find out that, look, within this 6 months, what am I going to do? And if you listen to him yesterday, he assured Nigerians that there is going to be law and order. How that is going to happen? Number one, you see, the level of depravity in this country, too, is another issue we need to look at. Okay. Because if we have youth who have no job, who have no means of livelihood, who have nothing to do, politicians are going to use them. That is one. And others, they will take into this criminality here and there. So what he needs to do, how he's going to enhance the life of the people. Because number one, this proclamation, no doubt will go through, but maybe it's going to be extended. That is a matter we cannot decide. But if that is not going to happen, then common sense needs to prevail. All the agitators or the people who are bickering with each other, they need to sit down. Because for now, look at it. You see, for you to have something that takes you out of the door in the morning, it's very, very important. Yes. The day you lose that job and you stay at home,
you find yourself at home.
The day after, it's very, very
when
serious.
It dawns on you.
Yes, that is when it will dawn on you that this. You see, all the House of Assembly members, they dress up in the morning, they are going to...
Even the men, they went to go and fight.
Exactly. They are going to Parliament. Right. But now, what's going to happen? They have no job. Nobody is going to pay them. So this is when we need to sit down and say, look, is this why we are elected? Just to be fighting the governor.
Okay, quite a number of people are saying what actually started this problem in the first place. You know, but let's not lean towards there. Let's go back to Iborete from Cross River. Obviously knows River State very well, has even worked in River State over time, a diplomat too, and a trained conciliator. Do these qualifications put him in a very good position to do what you just explained earlier on? That's number one. Number two, confrontation in a situation like this, especially for the administrator, is expected. People are going to approach him with one complaint or the other. Some of them will be civil, others will be very brash. What advice do you have for the gentleman?
Well, the advice is very simple. Number one, how do you, people set out to upset you, how do you rise above them? The way you do is to show them that I'm not going to get upset. I know the reason why you are saying that is because you want me to be upset, but I will show you I'm not going to get upset. So we need to listen more. And you said it's a trained conciliator.
Yes,
I think that will help him a lot. But having said that, he needs to acknowledge that there is an issue, a lot of issues on ground, and time is not on his side. He has 3 months to deliver. He has 3 months to ensure there is peace, and there is peace and concord in that state. And the only way he can do that is to put measures in place to ensure that all this restiveness argument and counter-argument doesn't take place, because they can become unnecessary distraction. And if care is not taken, you can get overwhelmed by it. So, and also, he must take a decision. Because you see, if you're a leader, it's not all your decision people are going to abide with. But that's why. And you see, if you look at what the president did, it's what you call the carrot and stick. If you give the horse the carrot and it's not ready to move, then you can use the stick and say, look, this. And if you look at this decision, it's a decision of the last resort. Because the president has already called them 1, 2, or 3 times in order to resolve all this issue. Still, you keep bickering. At a point, he now decided that, look, I have an enormous power under the Constitution. I may have to use this because I'm not going to let this continue. So the administrator, we can only wish him well, but at the same time, he himself must try as much as possible to listen more and work. There must be joint thinking.
So what are these limitations, especially, well, now that the federal government is set to release allocation, the withheld allocation to the administrator, which wasn't released to the bona fide let's say elected officials who were there, now they've been suspended. So how do you think you should go about this allocation that will be released? Do you think it's a good way for the people of Rivers State to now see that, yes, we have someone who will help us manage our resources, at least for the time being? And do you think in that process, suspended Governor Fubara and the lawmakers should still work with the administrator and also work with the president?
I don't think no. They could, what's the point of the suspension if they are still working with it?
No, when I say work, probably make a plea, go to Abuja, do the traveling.
No, like that's one side of the menu. There are lots in the menu. That's one side of it. If they want Fubara to come back, if they want to go back to the House of Assembly, that's a matter for them. They will have to take, that has got nothing to do with the administrator, because first of all, they need to sit down, resolve their differences, come up with an agreement, approach the president. That's a different issue. For the administrator, he has 6 months. And he needs to have something at the back of his mind, that the duty of accountability has no end.
Yeah.
That is very important. We can release this allocation to him. That money needs to be spent judiciously. And if he fails to do that, 3 years, 4 years down the line, they can still call him to come and give accounts. That is very important. And we've passed this before. When it happened in Ekiti, the late General Olurin was the administrator there. At least he tried his best possible. Since then, there hasn't been any issue about how the finances and what have you. So it is very important. They are not releasing that money so as to play with. They are releasing the money so that projects which are necessary that will improve the life of the people can be executed. That's one. Number two, the level of unemployment in that state. Why are these youth taken to crime? That's one. Create an opportunity for jobs. And at the same time, there are people who will like to take advantage, knowing the fact that you are there temporarily. Things are going to happen. And I do expect the man yesterday to give instruction to banks not to honor any checks issued by the previous the governor. Yeah. Because it's not impossible. You see, there are a lot of things that happen behind the scene. It's not impossible because this decision just came out of the blue. That's okay. Go and present your
take
check.
This out very quickly.
Those who have to be paid should be paid. And at the same time, he must keep his own record because somebody is going to look at the book at a particular point.
I believe in keeping records so seriously because it has a way of getting you out of sticky situations. Exactly. Now, the people of Rivers State are divided into 3. the 2, everybody knows. There is the third one that a lot of people may not have thought about, the people pro-Fubara, against Fubara, and the ones that just don't care. Yeah. They want to wake up in the morning, go do their hustle, and come back and live their lives as they have always lived it. Now, we are looking at a situation where everything has to be rigid in Rivers State. How will it affect the average person in Rivers State?
That's another issue because it's very important. Those average person, they don't even care about what goes on in government house.
Exactly.
What they want is security, food on the table,
yes,
and at the same time to have a means of livelihood. And it is important. Leaders must learn how to improve the local economy. And if you go abroad, the way this thing is well organized is very, very important. We can borrow a leaf from there. Take for instance, in the UK, the driving and license agency is in Swansea. It's not in London. And everybody knows in Swansea, that's where they are based. People are employed, a lot of them working there. If you have issue, you have to travel there. When you get there, you can buy a bottle of water. You can go in the shop and have a cup of tea. Yeah. By so doing, you are improving the local economy. And it's very important. You see, if you keep concentrating everything at the center, there's going to be a problem. People who earn limited wages will not get accommodation.
That's right.
Then prices of goods and services is going to go up. But what you need to do, how you're going to drive that local economy to improve, because these people, they wake up in the morning, as you rightly put it, go in the market, sell their goods, come back home,
And that's
sleep.
it.
That's it.
That's it.
And it's very important. This new administrator needs to look at that critically. 14 months has been spent doing nothing. Apart from all this unnecessary bickering here and there. That somebody has put a stop to that. And I hope common sense will prevail. And I hope the administrator, since he is a man that knows the terrain, he will use that opportunity to make a difference.
And 2 days have already gone, out of the 6 months that is expected to be.
No, time is
no
when you are having fun, time flies. It's when you are working that the clock doesn't move.
One thing I need you to quickly speak to is that, suspended Governor for Barr, duly elected, and alongside the officials and all that, he's got something that is known as immunity. Does it still have that immunity in force? Looking at the Constitution?
I think I heard that argument last night that, look, as the president, by suspending him, did you remove the immunity? Let's look at it. You work here. If you are suspended now, you have not been dismissed. Does that mean you are not an employee of TVC? That is the question. You still have the ID card. You still have the vehicle, you are still living in TVC accommodation, you still get your pay slip. So when you look at that, you cannot say, look, this is what happened. You see, the suspension is just, maybe we can say it's a first step in a disciplinary process. It's part of what is in there. Now, the immunity conferred that governor, he still has an opportunity to come back. Whether for now, they just have him step aside. That does not mean they've removed the immunity totally. But there might be other line of argument who will say, look, you are not the governor by now, because all the executive power you have with the suspension, it has been removed. So because of that, you cannot say you still enjoy that immunity. So it is not something which one can have a conclusive opinion. But the real issue is this. How he's going to get back into that government
so that he
house.
can wear the toga of immunity.
So that he can have that total immunity restored back to him. Right. That is the most important issue. And for that to happen, he needs to reach out. He must sound conciliatory. And if you look at the speech, his statement, shortly after the proclamation, it was not confrontational. It sounded conciliatory. And one must commend him for that. He has now moved his family, according to press report, from the government house. That means he respected the decision. But what he still needs to do, you need to ask yourself, how did we get to this stage? What can I do to make amends so that we can move forward?
Beautiful, beautiful way for us to put a cap on this interview. I want to say thank you, Barrister Femi Aina, lawyer, Ogun State, NNPP chairman. I want to thank you.
And it's quite interesting to have an NNPP chairman towing this line of argument.
That means you're a true Nigerian. And we appreciate that very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
All right.